Jayadeva Institute from Bangalore. Welcome, sir, and we can please start.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking on the timing of surgery for tetralogy of Fallot in India, and have we really evolved, and are we really moving with the rest of the world or the Western practices? I'm going to be completing my talk touching on a few these aspects. One is the aims of complete repair, why operate at the optimal time, what is advocated in the Western practice, and are those practices feasible in the developing world? Have our Indian guidelines changed over the last decade? And then I've also managed to collect some data with respect to practices from select centers in India. So a lot of focus has always been on the Villalock-Taussig shunt, but I think few would know on the history of complete repair for tetralogy of Fallot. And it all started off with just some amount of RVOT resection, leaving the VSD open by Brock in 1948. And they in fact reported that one of their smallest patients at 4 years had a 43-year survival with just this procedure. And as advances in cardiopulmonary bypass techniques have evolved, Lillehei, who was the first one to do a complete correction of intracardiac repair for TOF using a donor circulatory support in an 11-year-old boy, and subsequently went on to operate another 12 children with TOF, including one with pulmonary atresia. The first corrective repair was done by Kirkland in 1955, and conduits were established in 1965 and subsequently in 1966. And Barrett Boyce in 1973 said that a safe surgical correction of TOF would be carried out in infancy. So this was another, now why do we need to do this correction at the right age? So data suggests that 10% of untreated infants, only 10% of untreated infants would survive beyond the second decade, whereas you have 90% of children with definitive repair who survive to the 5th decade of life. So when we put in shunts for these patients, especially small children, we just reduce the hypoxemia. We do not totally achieve normal saturation, which is what a definitive repair helps us achieve. It minimizes secondary damage to the heart and other organ systems. It's supposed to preserve the myocardial mechanical and electrical function. I'll touch upon this a little later in some detail. And we all know that it prevents complications associated with the shunt surgeries like PA distortion, shunt thrombosis, and rare instances of heart failure. So the focus has been now is moved from immediate survival and just a relief of cyanosis to concentrating on things which would impact the survival of these patients in the long run, even as adults. So we have to understand certain factors with respect to PA growth in these children, RV fibrosis, long-term arrhythmic risk, and even adult TOFs and older children, they have a significant degree of LV hypertrophy with LV underfilling, which can alter the mechanics in the long run. Castaneda, in fact, suggested that the risk factors for primary definitive repair, even in neonates, was just accentuated PA hypoplasia and an LED across the RVOT. But he deemed that the neonates could as well undergo a safe surgical correction of TOF. And this was one paper which looked at neonatal repair of TOF with respect to pulmonary artery size and pulmonary artery development. And so that's the first topic that's the first aspect which I wanted to touch upon. That is a PA growth. So we all know that the PAs actually have a potential to grow and arborize along with the alveoli only up to the first 2 years of life. So they studied 66 patients with confluent PAs, of which 44 were neonates, including 7.5% with pulmonary atresia. And TAP was used in the majority of cases, but the mortality rate was only 4.5%. And if you actually look at the graph over here on the side, while they noticed that there was an increase in the PA growth irrespective of the age, a steady increase in the growth of the PAs was only maintained in the subset who underwent a neonatal correction of TOF. So they concluded that a significant late increase in the Nakata index is actually exclusive to the neonates, and that's probably because of a greater growth potential of neonatal arteries. This was another study from China, which again looked at improving PA sizes, but of course they didn't go on to definitive repair. They went on to putting shunts in these patients. So they classified their patients into 3 subgroups, one less than 2 months, 2 to 24 months, and more than 24 months. And what they found that a significant increase in Megmun and Nakata index was noted in those who were operated on with a shunt surgery less than 24 months. So he concluded that the maximum PA growth is achieved in children less than 24 months following shunt surgery. Now, with respect to pulmonary atresia in very diminutive subjects, we have a small study which comprised only 14 patients, but this was very early on, probably in the 1990s, where they looked at improving PA growth in patients with pulmonary atresia. One of them had a non-confluent branch base, the rest were all confluent. And even they suggested that direct aorta PA anastomosis of an RV PA conduit facilitates PA growth and even avoids need for unifocalization in the long run. Coming to the next aspect of RV fibrosis or myocardial fibrosis in arrhythmias. So this was a study which actually came way back in 2006 from Imperial College London, where they looked at CMRs in adult populations. And if you actually look at this, what they find is that a low RV fibrosis score correlated with age at repair. And in fact, even considering the current standards, this age at repair is quite late because they said that those who were operated at a median age of 3 had better RV scores, fibrosis scores compared to those who were operated at a later age of 7. And we all know that RV fibrosis correlates with arrhythmia. So if you look at the documented arrhythmias in this subset, it was 10% in those who were operated early versus 26% who had a late repair foot off. Again, another paper which came very recently in the EHA in 2019, which looked at focal scar and diffuse fibrosis as markers of arrhythmia and long-term survival in adult TOFs. And here, again, if you see, they did not find a statistically significant p-value with respect to the age at repair, though the age at repair in this paper was much earlier. So this was looking at 36 months at a median versus 18 months. And they again concluded, but though this was not statistically significant, you can see that the ventricular arrhythmia percentage is lesser in those who were operated early. So we concluded that focal scar and diffuse fibrosis are independent markers of in this situation, and both independently correlate with the onset of ventricular arrhythmia. And in fact, patients who have a scar because of pulmonary valve replacement have lower diffuse fibrosis, which can be reversed. So now this was one paper in 2000, that's almost 20 years ago, which looked at the optimal age of repair for tetralogy of Fallot. Now, if you look at their data, which they analyzed from 1993 to 98, you can see that the percentage of children undergoing BT shunts actually dropped from 38% to 0%. So we all moved towards definitive repair. The hospital deaths post 1996 have all stayed stagnant. And an interesting finding which they found was that those who were operated between 3 to 11 months of age, in fact, had the lowest mortality. So they concluded that the optimal age for complete repair for TOF is somewhere between 3 to 11 months of age. This was another interesting compilation of studies. It was a meta-analysis by Martins, which was published in the Brazilian Journal of Cardiac Surgery. And in fact, they have analyzed a lot of studies with respect to definitive repair of TOF, and including the early mortality. And this includes a large number of series with a large number of patients. Probably the largest one included 4,600 patients. And the results from all this meta-analysis was that the optimal age is somewhere between 3 to 12 months. STAR in 2010 actually looked at the mortality data and whether there has been any improvement as we have progressed. So in the 1950s, probably the mortality rate for definitive TOF was somewhere around 60%. And then it dropped significantly in the early 60s. And presently, most centers would report a mortality of somewhere close to 2 to 3%. This was another, what were the conclusions from the meta-analysis? Was that symptomatic children obviously should be offered immediate surgery regardless of age. And if they are asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, a definitive correction should be offered between 3 to 6 months of age. Though there was a higher incidence of transannular patches used in those operated less than 3 months of age. So probably we wouldn't really look at less than 3 months of age in most settings. And this was again a very recent paper which actually looked back at the trends of neonatal definitive repair in TOF, which has been advocated in quite a few centers, especially in the United States. And what they surprisingly found was that the mortality rate there is a 2-year mortality rate in neonatal repairs of TOF was actually much higher compared to those who were operated a little later, that is over 3 months of age. So presently, I would say that neonatal repairs definitely should be done in select centers, but this does come with a slightly higher rate of TOF mortality, even in the short run, and also the inclusion of transannular patch. Now, so do these Western guidelines and can they be adapted to low and middle income countries? So this was a paper which was published in the Annals of Thoracic Surgery to look at the feasibility and the safety of this approach. And classical TOF, less than 18 years of age, around 2,000 patients were included in the study, and of which 1,839 underwent a primary repair. A shunt was done initially in 200 patients, and they went on to have a secondary repair in 125 patients. So if you actually see the median age of this population, primary repair was established somewhere around 1 year. This is even from low and middle income countries. And secondary repair, obviously, because they had a shunt, was slightly delayed. And what they found was the mortality rate was not very high. It was around 3.3%, which averages most literature from the West. And in fact, shunts have got a slightly higher mortality. Though, of course, those who are older and want to have a secondary repair, the mortality is lesser than that in the early age group. And the risk factors for mortality were hypoxemia, and those were extremely malnourished with less growth chance less than the 5th percentile. So they concluded that systemic to PA shunt is a reasonable alternative for those who are less than 3 months, but over that, probably children should have a definitive repair for TOF if they have confluent pulmonary arteries. Now let's look at the Indian guidelines. Have they changed? So these were guidelines which came up from our Pediatric Cardiac Society of India. So you look back at the guidelines from 2008, and what do we see? Has there been a change from what was published 2 years ago? So in a stable child in 2008, the recommendations were to operate around 1 to 2 years, and that's actually significantly moved now to 6 to 12 months or even earlier. If a child has a refractory spell, obviously in those days, probably shunts were the only options. But now they have included interventional options like a PDA or RVOT stenting, and even advocated a total repair if, for children less than 6 months of age, if they have refractory spells. Conduit placement, again, in the setting of TOF, especially when this occurs in the case of coronary crossing RVOT in the classical TOF subset. Though some centers do it around 1 year, what's been advocated by our society is somewhere around 2 years, more than 2 years when they are 10 kilograms of age. Now, with respect to VSD pulmonary artery subset, surprisingly, the conduit age remained unchanged. And this was our data from our own institute for the last 2 years, which looked at TOF repair. And this was around maximum children underwent the repair between 6 to 12 months of age. And now this is again a data from select centers across our country. And if you actually see, most of them do repair TOF somewhere between 6 to 12 months. So the median age for repair was around 6 months. So to conclude, early definitive repair is recommended as being increasingly adopted across centers in our country. The average age for TOF repair has come down to around 6 months, conduit placement around 1 year. Institutional outcomes have improved with time in low middle income countries, though delay in diagnosis and referral still remains a challenge. I would like to thank all my colleagues and other fraternity in the pediatric cardiology field who have helped me with data from their centers. Thank you.